I'm going to show you some theories about Barbie that have been keeping me up at night, and I cover all sorts of creepy and true crime stuff, so follow along. In 2010, Barbie released a doll that had a camera on her necklace as well as a video screen on her back. This doll has since been discontinued, but there's a lot of rumors about what happened to this footage when it was recorded. So people have always theorized that the footage was collected and sold either by Mattel or by someone more nefarious. And it's been mentioned how easy it would have been for hackers to collect and sell all this data. The FBI even put out a statement about it. Barbie also released and
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, man, we break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG videos, Facebook videos, man. Anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank you guys for the support who's been tapping into the channel, subscribing, hitting that post notification bell, hitting that like button, man. I really appreciate the support. It allows me to put back into the channel. And yeah, that's what we do best, seekers. Let's seek the truth. What we got today?
This is why you should fear for your life if you buy or sell items on Facebook Marketplace. 56-year-old Denise Williams of Johnstown, Pennsylvania, wanted to buy a refrigerator for her boyfriend. She found one listed on Facebook Marketplace. The seller was 26-year-old Joshua Gorgon. Denise went to his apartment alone to check out the fridge, but never came out. On Monday, she was reported missing by her family, and police were able to track her using her phone and information from a Facebook account. She was found dead from multiple stab wounds at Joshua's apartment. Joshua was arrested and charged with criminal homicide. When he was interviewed by Cambria County detectives, he admitted to stabbing Williams to death with a kitchen knife following an argument over the cost of the refrigerator. The mystery of Kate Yup is...
That right there, man, is exactly what. If you guys gonna meet up somebody to buy something like online from Marketplace or something like that, always make sure it's in a public area. Never meet them at their house or a location of their choosing, man. You have to do it in a public meetup, a public setting, because you never know what can happen, man. Like you said, they were disputing over price, and look what that turned out. Never go to a person's place, man. Especially if you're buying something online. No.
Still very much unexplained. Kate Yup was a YouTuber who would make mukbang videos where she would eat excessive amounts of food. These were not normal videos. Kate was eating aggressively fast, almost like she was being starved or she was forced. She also wears a blindfold in every video, so her identity is completely unknown. But viewers became seriously concerned when they started to notice warning signs that Kate might be under someone's control. There are indicators that there was somebody else in that room with her while she's eating all of this food. You can hear him breathing in the background of her videos. She's eating so fast that in one video she actually chips her teeth, and when she shows them to the camera, these are teeth that are rotted. But the most compelling evidence to support that Kate Yup could be a victim of trafficking are the cryptic messages that she's left in the text editing of her videos. Since this all kind of blew up in the media, the channel has gone totally dark and there hasn't been a new video in a year.
Barbie has a much creepier history than I thought. I'm going to show you some theories about Barbie that have been keeping me up at night, and I cover all sorts of creepy and true crime stuff, so follow along. In 2010, Barbie released a doll that had a camera on her necklace as well as a video screen on her back. This doll has since been discontinued, but there's a lot of rumors about what happened to this footage when it was recorded. So people have always theorized that the footage was collected and sold either by Mattel or by someone more nefarious. And it's been mentioned how easy it would have been for hackers to collect and sell all this data. The FBI even put out a statement about it. Barbie also released and discontinued the Hello doll, which could listen to children and respond with over 8,000 pre-recorded answers. A lot of parents worried that these dolls were potentially recording their children and then selling that data, but this doll also has really concerning reviews. Like, people say that the doll won't take no for an answer. Like, if she asked if you wanted to hear a story and then you said no, she would actually push back and then just tell you the story anyways. And the doll would also ask really specific and targeted questions about children, like how big their families were and if they had any siblings. Was this doll just collecting market data on children, or was it something much weirder?
No one could work out why this child kept getting sick. So doctors took a look at the cameras that were set up in the room, and what they saw gave them chills. 9 days after Garrett Spears was born, he was admitted to hospital. Since then, Lacey Spears would care for her son through a myriad of illnesses. No one could figure out why young Gareth kept getting sick. Lacey, the dutiful single mother, would document his illnesses online. She created an online blog where she would chronicle her struggles and document her struggles to find a cure for whatever illness Gareth had. In 2014, Gareth, age 5, was rushed to hospital. Doctors again couldn't quite work out what made him sick, but they were able to treat his symptoms and he made a full recovery. Doctors were gearing up to discharge him. However, within a few short hours, Gareth took a turn for the worst, and without warning, he sadly passed away. The hospital staff were devastated, but very confused as to what had happened. So they did a blood test, and that's where they found something very disturbing. Garrett had deadly levels of sodium in his blood. He had been suffering from sodium poisoning, which meant someone was poisoning him. So when hooked up to certain machines in the hospital, there are cameras. They took a look at those cameras, and they saw what was happening. His mother, Lacey, had been poisoning him with sea salt. Lacey was arrested. She was diagnosed with Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and she was sentenced to 25 years. My name's Harves, and I tell 17 crime stories. For more, remember to follow.
This is some clout? People have to be better, man. When clout comes into the picture, they just lose all sense of morality. Never fails, man. Clout is one of the most dangerous drugs there's out there nowadays.
Yo, and shoot Geoward in the back 12 times, killing him instantly. With her son-in-law's body on the kitchen floor, Cynthia went on with her birthday celebrations, first going to a local cafe for breakfast, then to a casino, and finally to her favorite coffee shop, where she was brought into questioning by police. And what followed is an interrogation that would make anyone's blood curdle.
Come here.
I'm so sorry!
We're just gonna put handcuffs on just for now. Where's the nut?
Sorry, Dad, I'm sorry, I don't know what shot.
This is police body cam footage that depicts a 12-year-old girl after she just stabbed and killed her 9-year-old brother. She's seen crying and apologizing to police and her mother repeatedly. This would take place on Friday night in Oklahoma.
Just sit there for a second. You don't have the knife on you, right?
No, I swear I don't. I'm
Sorry.
sorry. I don't. I'm sorry.
It would be nighttime and the one parent would be sleeping upstairs when the 12-year-old daughter would stab her 9-year-old brother repeatedly in the chest. She then would go upstairs to wake up her parent to inform them of what she had just done.
I went upstairs in my room and I threw it out the window and it fell into the apartment right here.
You threw it where?
I threw it out my window upstairs. Not right there. It's the room. It's the other room. It's right behind the apartment. This apartment right here.
The young girl will be taken into custody and is currently being held at the Family Center for Juvenile Justice.
The hell made her do that? See how we're looking around?
Yeah.
So this is death row inmate Taylor Parker, who went to extreme lengths to cover up her lies. She even killed a pregnant woman in order to steal the baby from her womb, just to prove she was really pregnant. So pictured here we have Taylor and her boyfriend Wade, and what appears to be a baby bump. What later is found out is just an actual prosthetic baby bump, not a real one. She was covering up this entire time, pretending to be pregnant so that Wade would not leave her. Now, she couldn't have gotten pregnant because she had a hysterectomy several years earlier, but Wade was unaware of this. Well, that's where Reagan comes into play, because Reagan actually was pregnant around the same time that Taylor said she was pregnant. And she knew Reagan because she had been a photographer at Reagan's wedding. Now, Taylor's perpetrating this lie the entire time. So even holding a gender reveal party and going to ultrasound, sending fake images to her boyfriend. He never gets to go into the doctor's office. She keeps telling him, oh, sorry, it's COVID. You're not allowed to go back there. So he begins to grow a little suspicious of the whole thing, especially after when the day she was supposed to be induced, his house catches on fire and a bomb threat at the hospital they were supposed to be induced at occurs. And then she becomes 3 weeks late on her pregnancy. That's when Wade's mother pulls him aside and says, you know, I actually think you're onto something. She's probably not pregnant. Wade confronts her once again about the whole thing, and she says, watch, I'm going to get induced at a hospital in Oklahoma, and you will see. So Friday, she sets up an appointment to be induced. So that morning, Wade actually goes to a hog sale because he was supposed to go down to this sale about 4 hours from their house, come back, drive her to the hospital, and watch the baby be induced. Well, ends up being that he goes there and it was a false. She had set this up for him to actually go to this hog hunt so she could go see Reagan and murder her, and she does. Sadly, she goes over to her friend's house, attacks her, stabs her with a scalpel that she had over 100 times while her little daughter is standing right there. Then she cuts open her stomach and extracts the baby from it and rushes towards the hospital. She gets pulled over for speeding and says, "Hey, look, I just had this baby. It's unresponsive. Help me, help me." She had actually tucked the umbilical cord into her pants to make it look like the baby was still attached to her. But the hospital staff begins to grow suspect as she refuses to be checked at all, and the baby shows up dead, and they actually heard that there was a baby that was abducted from another murder victim after the mother of Reagan showed up and found her daughter with 100 stab wounds. Sadly, at court, all this web of lies comes out. Reagan and the baby were killed. She was sentenced to murder and sentenced to death in Texas, where she currently sits on death row awaiting execution.
So update on your
one of the most freaking bizarre cases, man, we heard, man. And it just goes to prove when a person is lying, man, they spinning those webs, how they would just try to do anything to cover it up. Like, she went to the extremes. That's because, like I said, the boyfriend and the boyfriend moms were catching on to, hey, like, you probably not pregnant. Like, you's on to something. And look what she did. Liars can be one of the most dangerous, unpredictable people in the world. Seekers.
Lexi Treviso case, if you didn't know, a lot of people that went to school with her are starting to speak out on social media outlets, and the Daily Mail just published an article on Saturday. So the headline reads, "She was a master manipulator. Alexi Treviso knew she was pregnant and had even picked out the name Alex for her baby boy, but hid it from everyone." So what the students told Daily Mail is that around mid-November, students already started to speculate if she was pregnant or not, which she was denying all the rumors. Even her cheer coach had asked her if she was pregnant, but she said that it was the pill, which is why she gained so much weight. But she obviously looked pregnant. I mean, she was actually pregnant, but they felt that they couldn't keep asking her because it was just going to make them look wrong. As in, they were giving her the benefit of the doubt that maybe she was just gaining lots of weight. And when the news broke back in January that someone had discarded their baby in the hospital, people already started to suspect that it was Alexi. So the students did explain that after the news had broke out, both Alex and Devin were gone for a couple of weeks, which they were able to put 2 and 2 together. And when they came back, Alex at one point had the audacity to write a poem called People Talk, basically addressing all the rumors that were going on about her. The reason they also said they couldn't just come out and talk about what was actually happening is because the school was threatening them if they were to talk, they were going to be suspended and not be able to participate in the graduation ceremony. She is currently out on a $100,000 bail and awaiting trial on September 11th.
Oh my God, you
People
guys,
talking
this
about
is
the truth.
The biggest story in true crime today, or it probably will be for the next week. Did you guys see that someone confessed to the murder of Benet Ramsey? For my younger followers, this is Benet Ramsey. She was killed in her home December 27th, 1996. She was a 6-year-old little girl. She lived in Boulder, Colorado, and someone came in the middle of the night, it was presumed, and kidnapped her. Now, it has been long speculated that the parents were involved. So they said they woke up and there was a ransom note. They were very well off. And I've heard theories also that the son was involved. He was roughly her age, maybe a couple of years older than her. So like I said, she was killed on December 26, 1996. Now, on December 27th, 1996, this was a huge national story. Now, before the story became known as widely as it was, the Boulder police received a tip that someone had gotten a phone call from a friend that he hadn't spoken to in years, saying that he was scared. He hurt a little girl in Boulder, Colorado. Now, authorities never looked into this or questioned the guy, but the guy in question was Gary Aliba, and this is a picture of him at the 1-year anniversary at the Benet Ramsey vigil. This was a picture taken by a private investigator hired by John Ramsey, which was Benet's father. He gave them this information and they never looked into it further.
Wow.
So again, like all my videos, what is going on with the justice system in this country? So they never looked into it, never questioned this guy, but 4 years later, in 2000, this guy was arrested with, relating to CSA. I can't really say it on TikTok, but you get the idea. He was arrested in 2000, at which point he wrote more letters, confession letters, to this friend that lived in California. Okay, so fast forward to 2016, this guy gets arrested yet again, and cops find pictures of JonBenet on his phone, and the CSA charges that he was being arrested for multiple times, and the multiple tips from this guy that he had called and said, "I'm scared, I hurt this girl," were never looked into. What?
Again?
Today we're going to be talking about a murderer and a serial rapist by the name of Mr. Cruel, who a few decades ago was Australia's most wanted and was also known as the boogeyman of Australia.
So according to various sketches, this is what Mr. Cruel looked like. And between 1987 and 1991, he broke into 3 homes of 3 Australian parents, and then he would bound the parents and take their daughters. On the morning of August 22nd, 1987, a masked man broke into a quiet home in the suburbs in Melbourne, Australia. He forced both parents onto their stomachs and then bound them. And then he locked them in a closet as he proceeded to rape their 11-year-old daughter. He cut the phone lines and then he left after assaulting the daughter. When the police first heard about this case, they were trying to figure out what happened and asked the parents. The parents then said that the attacker came into their house with a gun and a knife and tied them in knots, which can only be known by sailors. So this gave the police a hint as to who he could be. But because he was wearing a mask, he was unable to be identified. The little girl who was attacked then told the police that he had made a phone call and told the person on the phone call to move their children and also called him a bozo. But when the police looked into it, they found no record of any phone call. This was just something that Mr. Cruel did to throw the police off his case. He was doing this to purposely confuse investigators, and that's when he went for his second victim, Sharon Wills, who was 10 years old. Just days after Christmas in 1988, John Wills, his wife, and their 4 daughters were asleep. And this house was a couple of miles away from where the first crime took place. Wearing dark blue overalls and a dark ski mask, Mr. Cruel came back. He held a gun to the father's head, and just like the previous crime, rolled the parents onto the stomachs and bound them and gagged them. He knew Sharon Wills' name and woke her up. He then blindfolded her, gagged her, and took her away, and fled the house with some of her clothing the next morning. By the time the father got help, it was too late. Mr. Cruel was gone and so was Sharon Wills. But 18 hours later, a woman stumbled upon her. She was dressed in a green garbage bag, standing on the street a quarter after midnight. Because she was blindfolded throughout the assault, she couldn't give much information to the police. But Mr. Cruel made sure to wash her body and cut her fingernails and floss her teeth, so there was no forensic evidence available. He then told her that he was the boogeyman. But this was just the beginning of Mr. Cruel's attacks. He then proceeded to attack another girl and murder and attack one more. Running out of time, so I'm going to have to make a part 2, but make sure you check it out.
This is one of the most high-profile pedophiles in Hollywood, Jeffrey Jones. You might recognize Jeffrey from a number of movies he's been in, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, The Hunt for Red October, and Beetlejuice. It's highly ironic to me that in a lot of the movies he was in, Jeffrey Jones played the villain, and he ended up being one in real life. So after his career flourished in the late 80s and 90s, let's fast forward to 2002. That year, Jeffrey was arrested for the possession of CP, if you know what I'm talking about, and he was accused by a 17-year-old boy of soliciting him to take nude photos. These charges get even more disturbing when you realize that the young boy who accused Jeffrey of soliciting him to take nude photographs was 14 when the charges were originally brought up and the accusations were made. Jeffrey pleaded no contest to the solicitation. He openly admitted that he had done this horrible thing. But once again, because of legal loopholes, because he admitted to this and pled no contest, that meant that the other CP charges were completely dropped.
No way.
And what happened to Jeffrey after all this? Well, he got 5 years probation. He also had to go through counseling and register as a sex offender. And yes, if you're wondering, to this day, he is still registered as a sex offender. You can find the records of all of this online. But it seems like Jeffrey didn't want to be known as a sex offender throughout his life. for the rest of his life, and he would end up being arrested twice for failing to update his sex offender registration. And in 2006, when working on the set of the movie Who's Your Caddy?, The community of Aiken, South Carolina, where the film was being filmed, complained to the government and complained that a sex offender was on set. This was due to the fact that families had been invited to visit the set with their children, and they had no idea that there was a predator lurking amongst the crew.
Right to know.
To this day, a lot of people don't know what this guy has done, and even Justin Bieber posted a photo with him a couple years back, and a lot of people were obviously a little mad about that. And I think it's important to realize that these people are everywhere. They're your friends, your family, your neighbors. They're even celebrities. And at the end of the day, even the people that you look up to and have seen a million times on the silver screen could be the worst people you've ever met in real life. If you like these types of stories, give me a follow or listen to my wife and I's podcast, Murder in America.
Like you said, man, it seems like it's always somebody in Hollywood or famous in that realm that has that problem, man. Y'all know the beef that's going on with freaking Jake and Kendrick Lamar right now. You know what Kendrick said, how he been dropping disses and about hitting about certain stuff. It's like it's crazy. It's a rampant problem in Hollywood, man. Or when it involves famous people, we don't know if it's true or not. It's not confirmed, but it's just crazy how it's always like someone in that realm or something like that. That's just something to think about.
Patreon. I know if Amanda was alive, she'd be a Patreon member. Thank God for true crime.
What would... Here's the thing. I enjoy listening to some true crime podcasts. I like when they're mysteries and there's like an investigation involved. I honestly like it when a journalist does it and they're in tandem with the family and the family knows about it, so they're kind of working on it together. Like, there's a lot of good examples. There's Someone Knows Something, Crime Junkie, although not a great name. My favorite podcast of all time is The Last Podcast on the Left. They don't do all true crime, they do a bunch of other stuff too, but like when they do true crime, they're really good at like demystifying like these serial killers, like, oh, they did, and they're like, no, they're losers. So I really appreciate that. Oh. But anyway, someone recommended My Favorite Murder, and I listened to an episode, and I was like, no. First of all, the first half was just like 40 minutes of them doing bits between them, and I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to be a true crime podcast, don't you do research and stuff? They did very little research, like they infantilized like the victims, like it was just really uncomfortable to listen to. So I checked their Instagram and I'm like, how popular are these guys? And they have a lot of followers. Really? And they either posted or reposted a picture, I don't think it was them specifically, but of someone doing a true crime party. And in my head I'm like, no, there's no way they're doing like actual victims of crimes. Like they're probably doing like movie things or like Sherlock Holmes, I don't know. Mm-hmm. No, it was actual cases of actual people, and they came dressed up, and one of them was dressed up as a pageant queen, like a toddlers and tiaras kind of person, like the full pageant, like the crown and everything, because she was impersonating a girl named Benet Ramsey who was murdered in 1997, who was 6, and they like reposted it. Like, at what point of delusion are you doing that? Like, that's genuinely disgusting. And they're really popular. Guys, again, I would just be, like, considerate of your consumption. Like, there are a lot of, like, true crime podcasts that, like, work very closely with victims and, like, raise a lot of money. Like, Crime Junkie, like, started a project where they actually identified 2 unidentified people because they raised enough donations to get the DNA testing for them, which was like, oh, it was amazing. I was like, oh, okay, you're doing something. Not doing bits and not dressing as like a child victim for a party. And Last Podcast on the Left does a lot of like alien episodes and Bigfoot episodes. Those are my favorite.
That's actually insane. Truly, that's one of the first time I heard about it. A true crime party where they dress up as who even thought of that idea? Who even thought, hey, let's have a true crime party and we dress up as the victims? Knowing what they went through, y'all know the story, the background behind it, and y'all throwing a party, dressing up as them. Like, they don't think how that could like affect the family members and stuff like that. Like, what happens if somebody found out, I guess in their family, man, that they're having a party and they're dressing up as a victim? That's not funny. That's not even a great idea or fun idea. Who the hell even thought that up, man? People nowadays, bro, I'm trying to tell you, they don't think before they act, before they do things like this, man. It's crazy. The things people do, man. As a form of entertainment, we gotta be better. Everybody, man. All around. You guys, if you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, guys. Like I said, if you guys subscribe to the channel, hit that post notification bell, hit that like button, man. We're growing. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, I know we can grow our community, the seekers, into something special. I just need you guys' help to follow those 3 simple steps, man. We're golden. Like I said, man, we've been daily uploading, man, every single day, man. I'm planning to do the same thing this month. Hopefully, I want you guys to stick with me through the journey. Like I said, I've been trying to upgrade the channels. Like I said, tell me also down below if you guys like my new reacting style, man. As you guys can see, I'm pausing way less. I'm trying to limit it to 2 or 3 pauses, maybe throughout like the whole video, and just save my thoughts until after and kind of speak on it. I'll really only pause like through the video if it's like really important, if it's something I really have to get off my chest. But tell me if you guys like this new style. I'm trying to bring the best entertainment for you guys also, man. Like I said, send me videos you guys want to react to. If you guys, I know y'all been saying y'all don't want to see the same thing, so if you guys can send me the videos, that's why I say follow me on my social medias, because you guys send me the videos, I can put them, I can like compile the clips into the next video. So I need you guys to follow my social medias as well. I'm out. Peace, seekers. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikToks, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank the supporters, man, who's been subscribing to the channel, hitting that post notification bell, hitting that like button, man. You're helping us grow our community, man, the seekers. So I really appreciate that support, man. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, man. Seek the truth.
This girl took her mom's life on Facebook Live. On January 8th of this year, 28-year-old Nansen Ores Beltran went with her mom, 55-year-old Olivia Lucia Beltran, to a Santa Rosa police station. Nansen needed to go there because she needed to pick up her vehicle after it was impounded following an earlier chase. While at the police station, she filmed herself waving an open pocket knife in front of everybody. An officer stated that she was too mentally unstable to drive, but they still let her go home. At 5 p.m. that same day, Nansen was on Facebook Live when she stabbed her mother. Viewers of the live ended up contacting police to let them know what they had just witnessed. When officers arrived to the scene, they noticed that Nansen was on her balcony holding a knife in her hand. Right next to her was her mother, and her clothes were just soaked in blood. Nansen failed to respond to commands, so a group of officers broke through the front door and she was arrested. Olivia suffered from numerous stab wounds and was rushed to a local hospital. Unfortunately, the surgeons were unable to overcome the extensive life-threatening injuries and she passed away. Detectives worked with Meta/Facebook and had the video removed. Nansen was arrested on 1 count of murder and was being held without bail at Marin County Jail. To this day, there is still no clear motive on why she did this to her mother.
This man willingly allowed himself to be eaten alive by a cannibal. 43-year-old Armando Brands was an engineer from Berlin who always fantasized about being cannibalized by another human being. So, in 2001, he began searching the website Cannibal Cafe, which was, yes, a legitimate website for anyone willing to cook him and eat him. On the Cannibal Cafe website, that Brands met 30-year-old computer technician Armin Muse. Armin also had a fantasy of cannibalizing human flesh, and so over the next few weeks, him and Brands messaged each other back and forth, discussing the best way to cook Brands' flesh and then dispose of his body after they were done. Finally, on March 9, 2001, Armando traveled to Armin's apartment and willingly allowed himself to be tied up before Armin began to try and chew off Armando's penis. Armin found that the penis was too chewy to bite off, so he instead castrated Armando with a knife before frying his severed penis in olive oil and then feeding it to him. After this, Armin proceeded to kill Armando by stabbing him in the neck and letting him bleed out in the bathtub for over 3 hours before he finally succumbed to his wounds. After Armando died, Armin proceeded to cut up his body into large chunks, storing them in a freezer, and over the next 6 months, he would consume over 44 pounds of Armando's flesh. Armin would be caught 6 months later after looking for another victim on the Cannibal Cafe website. Now, at first, prosecutors weren't sure how to go about this case because Armando willingly allowed all this to happen, and they know this because Armin recorded the entire thing. The castration, eating of the penis, and the entire time Armando was telling Armin that he wanted more. However, since people can't consent to their own murder, Armin was eventually found guilty and sentenced to life in prison. However, to this day, he still gets weekly visits out to the city where he can roam about and do as he pleases.
How the hell can he just get weekly roamings? And a website like that, man, actually existed. Blow my damn mind, man. Nowadays, man, I shouldn't be surprised, but you probably type in anything, man, on the web, it'll pop right back up, man. Stuff that shouldn't even be allowed, like cannibalism. Somebody want to be eaten online, and they found it just like that. It's internet, man. It gives you too much easy access to things we shouldn't have.
Because you are guilty, aren't you? Are you guilty, sir?
I accept my plea. Exactly.
Much as it was my honor and privilege to hear the sister survivors, it is my honor and privilege to sentence you. Because, sir, you do not deserve to walk outside of a prison ever again. You have done nothing to control those urges. The decision to assault was precise, calculated, manipulative, devious, despicable. I'm giving you 175 years, which is 2,100 months. I just signed your death warrant.
Damn.
I need everyone to be quiet.
These villagers dig up.
Wasn't I think I remember seeing that case. Wasn't he like already? But didn't he work with like the Olympic team or something like that? And how he had that many access, man, because he was like a sports coach or something. And he got what he deserved. She signed, like she said, she signed his death warrant, man. They were clap, as they should have been, bro.
Up their dead family members every 3 years, and you won't believe why. These people are from a village in Indonesia, and during their Redeem festival, they get their ancestors' corpses, clean them, then put them all out to dry, and dress them in new clothes as a ritual. And the reason is because they believe they're showing them love and respect.
Different cultures have they do different things, but it's kind of bizarre, man. Could you guys do that? I can't even think about doing that, burying up. Digging up your loved ones.
The legend of Bunny Man Bridge. In 1904, not far from this bridge in Fairfax County, Virginia, was a mental asylum. Nearby residents didn't like the fact that mental patients were near their new homes, so they had it shut down. While the patients were being transported, their bus crashed, and all were found except for one. A patient named Douglas Griffin, who disappeared into the nearby woods. In the upcoming weeks, bodies of rabbits were found strewn about the woods as if someone was eating them. On Halloween night, Douglas Griffin struck and killed a group of teenagers that were hanging out underneath of the bridge. They were gutted and hanged like dead rabbits. Now there is a ton of variations of this urban legend, but there is a slight bit of truth behind the origin of it. There was a police report from 1970 that said a person dressed in all white threw a hatchet at somebody's car. And the person had something on their heads, and that is where people filled in the blanks with it being rabbit ears. There was another report of a man running around with a hatchet and a bunny suit also in 1970. Who knows, maybe there really was a killer bunny man.
This man has been sentenced to 100 years in prison
it?
after doing the unthinkable to his daughter. Tony Valles is a 66-year-old from Helena. On the 10th of July 2022, he was at home with his partner Heather. Tony's 8-year-old daughter Ariana and his 18-year-old son were also at the house at the time. Suddenly, 2 women entered the property who he believed were evicting him. He flew into a violent rage and grabbed a weapon from his bedroom. At this point, he began shooting. He shot Heather and she fell to the floor, and then he shot at his son. His 8-year-old daughter tried to escape and run from the terror, but she was hit with gunfire. She was on the stairs when she was hit by a bullet and she fell back. She tragically died after being rushed to hospital. After his daughter's death, Tony stated, "I'm sorry for all this. I can't undo what I've done. The pain and the misery will last a lifetime, and I'm sorry for all that." Tony was sentenced to serve 100 years in prison.
This is the most unsettling show I've seen.
Disturbing things.
Netflix just released a show called Baby Reindeer, where a man named Donnie is relentlessly stalked by a middle-aged woman named Martha. But it's based on a real story, and the guy it happened to is playing the main character. So let's talk about the real events the show portrays. So in the show, Martha's obsession with Donnie starts after he offers a cup of tea for free. And according to the creator, that is really what started her 4-year obsession with him. Also, over the course of the stalking, the real Martha sent the creator 41,071 emails, 744 tweets, 46 Facebook messages, 106 pages of letters, and 350 hours of voicemail
She was
messages.
dedicated.
And the real texts and emails are featured in the show. One of the saddest real details of the show is that the creator does go to the police to try to report Martha, and they totally brush him off. They just don't feel like she's enough of a threat, even though she's showing up to all of his comedy shows, she's sending him that many messages, and she fully believes they're in a relationship. And the show is really interesting in that it portrays the gray area that the creator, Richard Gadd, faced while experiencing being stalked. This is a bit of a spoiler, but he himself was a survivor of sexual assault, so in a way, this kind of undying love was something that he craved. And in interviews, he says that he's not purely a victim, that this situation is really gray because sometimes he would indulge in the attention that she gave him. It's definitely worth watching if you haven't seen it already. It does get very intense at times, but let me know if you've seen it.
I seen that scrolling through Netflix a couple times on a recommended, but I really didn't know what it was about. But now that it's broken down for us, man. Any fellow seekers, they gonna check it out, man? Should I check it out? You guys can leave a review. Might have to check that out. Edit. Call it like I see it.
His life was taken for laugh reacting to a Facebook photo.
No way.
This is 18-year-old Isaiah Craig Fitzgerald, and he was from Missouri. On May 25th of 2023, Isaiah had came across this photo of 20-year-old Tanner Watkins and his girlfriend. He reacts to the Facebook photo with a laughing emoji. Tanner ends up responding to Isaiah saying, "What's funny?" and an argument begins. Tanner then ends up telling Isaiah that they should meet at a park to fight after a heated exchange.
Emoji?
At the agreed upon location, shots were fired from both vehicles. Isaiah was fatally shot and his girlfriend was seriously wounded. Police have responded to the scene after receiving reports of gunfire, and they stopped both vehicles as they were leaving. Isaiah was pronounced dead and his girlfriend was transported to a local hospital where doctors treated her injuries. Officers ended up confiscating weapons from both vehicles. Tanner and 18-year-old Caleb Ramsey were both taken into custody. Both pled not guilty to all charges and were acquitted in December of 2023. The judge had ordered a mistrial after the jury could not agree on a verdict. Tanner and Caleb were charged with 3 counts of murder, 3 counts of assault, unlawful use of a weapon, and 4 counts of armed criminal action.
The most terrifying prisoners of all time. This is Jamie Osuna, the man with 1,000 faces. In 2017, Jamie was sentenced to life in prison for the 2011 murder and torture of a woman from Bakersfield. During his court case, you can see him smirking, rolling his eyes, and mocking the family of the deceased, even giving a thumbs up as the judge announces his sentence. From there, he is transported to Corcoran State Prison, where things got worse. Way worse. He is given a cellmate, Luis Romero, who had spent more than 2 decades in prison himself. On March 9th, 2019, guards checked their cell and find the most gruesome scene. Romero had been beheaded and several of his body parts were removed and fashioned into a necklace worn by Jamie. "Ha ha ha" had been written on the wall in blood, as well as "the man with 1,000 faces."
Someone that freaking dangerous, man. He had to be probably put into solitary, like, as soon as he got there, man. Because obviously during the case you showed, saying they were showing no remorse, man, putting a thumbs up during the trial, and telling man those are the most dangerous people, man, who can do an action like that have no remorse. And look what happened. The man with 1,000 faces, man. Crazy. Haha, bro. That's something like the Joker would do.
Prosecutors in the Bryan Kohberger case have said that they are not buying his alibi. Kohberger's defense has spent months giving very few details about his alibi, essentially only saying that he was out driving around the night of the murders and that nobody could corroborate this. But then a couple weeks ago, they said that they have an expert witness that can testify about Kohberger's cell phone movements the night of the murders, placing him away from the house. But prosecutors are not buying it, and specifically, they said, quote, the defendant's alibi lacks specificity and state the specific place or places at which the defendant claims to have been at the time of the alleged offense, and the names and addresses of the witnesses upon whom he intends to rely to establish such alibi, according to Idaho Code 19-519. So essentially, the prosecution is saying that Kohberger's alibi is not specific enough, and just because an expert witness can testify about his cell phone movements does not mean that it's a corroborating alibi, and that they need specific witnesses to be able to verify his alibi for it to be a proper alibi. The next hearing for the case has been scheduled for May 2nd. Other updates in the Kohberger case include that prosecutors are also moving to have the following hearing after the May 2nd hearing on May 14th be under seal. This is essentially to protect the information that is being disseminated to the public that could potentially taint the jury pool. And speaking of the potential jury pool, the judge has ruled that the defense can continue their surveys of the potential jury pool to determine if the potential jury pool knows about Bryan Kohberger, because the defense is trying to get a change of venue. But that's all for the latest updates with Bryan Kohberger. Things are just continuing to slowly move along.
The longest prison sentence
justice in that case.
At number 5 is Joseph Legend. He has served 67 years and 54 days in prison, and he was released earlier this year. He was convicted of murder at the age of 15. He was released at 83. At number 4 is Joseph Phillips, who served 68 years and 236 days. He was convicted in 1952 of raping a 5-year-old girl. He was paroled in March 2021. Third, with only 9 more days in prison, is Paul Goodell Jr. He served 68 years and 245 days. He was incarcerated in 1911 at the age of 17. He was released in 1980 at the age of 86. Once released, he died in a retirement home 7 years later at the age of 93.
That time,
in second place, and the only non-American on the list, is an Australian man by the name of Charles Fawcett. He was sentenced to life imprisonment after murdering an elderly man and stealing his boots. And before number 1, right, I'll go to prison next in the comments and leave your autocorrect finished. He'll write that you'll go to jail. And in number 1, it's Francis Clifford Smith. He's currently serving 72 years and 90 days. He was also sentenced to death for the murder of a night watchman on his way out of a nightclub. But his sentence was changed to life imprisonment in 1954, 2 hours before his scheduled execution. He was lucky.
Changed just like that. All that time gone. Basically, if you get over 50, 60 years, that's a life sentence, man. Once you get out, all that time's wasted, man. Think before you act.
Signs of a societal collapse in a country are so often things you would never even think about. For example, a shocking study was recently published showing a concerning rise in people being found so long after death in the UK that their body had decomposed. And we're not talking about just days and weeks here. The study cited a number of cases like 38-year-old Laura Winham, who struggled with mental health problems and was found in a mummified, almost skeletal state at her flat in 2021, more than 3 years after she had died. She passed away in 2017, 3 years before the pandemic even began. And the body of another 61-year-old woman, Shalia, was found badly decomposed in her flat in London in 2022, 2 years after she had died. The study said that men were more than twice as likely as women to be discovered long after death in a decomposed state, and also linked this tragic trend to loneliness, societal breakdown, and a loss of people's social connection. And that is sadly why
a 20-year-old cold case has had a major breakthrough after an eerie twist led to police identifying a teenage girl's remains. Midtown Jane Doe was found mysteriously entombed in cement in a former New York hotspot during construction in 2003. Investigators believe she was fatally strangled, bound with electrical wire, and wrapped in a carpet before being cemented into the building's basement. Now, Midtown Jane Doe has been identified as Patricia Kathleen McGlone, a girl from Brooklyn who was last seen in the late 1960s. DNA from a woman killed in the 9/11 attacks, also named Patricia, helped authorities identify the girl, as the two were related.
Gruesome facts
They both had the name Patricia, man, and that link is what led to that case breaking all those years ago. The things that freaking line up in the universe in order for that to happen. This is crazy if you think about it.
You didn't know, part 262. On August 17th of 1980, 9-week-old Azaria Chamberlain disappeared from the tent during a family camping trip. Mother Lindy reported she saw a wild dog leaving the tent and believed that her baby had been taken by dingoes in the Australian outback. Despite a frantic search, nothing was found and no body was ever discovered. Extensive press coverage of the incident portrayed the couple as monsters, and they received multiple death threats. Believing that the police were feeding information to the media, the entire court case was a madhouse and the public opinion hugely divided. Some believing they murdered their own child, others believing that dingoes really did take their baby. Their religious background stirred up rumors that cult-like activity had taken place, and at the time, dingoes were not generally seen as dangerous. But despite all the horrible and negative publicity, Lindy and husband Michael continued to plead their innocence. But on October 29th of 1982, she was sentenced to life in prison for murder, with Michael being charged as an accessory and sentenced to 18 months. After she spent 4 long years in prison and had no more legal routes to take, new evidence was discovered. Azaria's jacket was found partially buried in a highly populated dingo area. This led to her prison release in 1988, and both her and Michael were completely exonerated of all charges. In 2012, a coroner issued the final report on the case, confirming that their baby had been taken and eaten by dingoes.
So she was right all along, man. It goes to show you how sometimes, like, public opinion, it's a powerful thing, man, because if you get the public on your side, it can get people to believe anything, even if it's untrue. Scary times we live in.
Breaking news, the remains of 6 women have been found inside of a man's apartment. Authorities say the investigation began when he allegedly broke into a neighbor's apartment on April 16th. From there, he essayed and strangled a 17-year-old girl. The victim's mother returned home shortly after and saw the man leaving. It was at that point he slashed her throat and then fled. According to authorities, the mother was able to survive, however, the daughter did not. With the mother's assistance, they were able to identify the suspect only as, quote, Miguel. After the incident, they searched his apartment and, quote, clearly indicated we are looking at a possible serial killer of women. Authorities also confirmed that notebooks were located that, quote, may well be narrations of the acts that Miguel carried out against his victims. In addition, they found cell phones and ID cards belonging to multiple women. They said that 5 of the ID cards found belonged to women who have been located alive. However, they did not specify how many belonged to women who are still missing or deceased. Prosecutors did confirm that there were remains of 6 women found in his rented room. Quote, other biological material was also found in the rooms. In addition to the ID cards and cell phones found, they also found bones, BLOOD, and a saw. At this time, authorities have not provided any further details. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. What do you guys think? Drop in the comments.
This is a cannibal that used the gay dating app Grindr to find victims so he could eat them. So on Christmas Eve 2019, 25-year-old Kevin Bacon told his roommate that he was going out for the evening to meet up with a man that he had recently been talking to on the dating app Grindr. Now, after 3 days, Kevin failed to come home or contact any of his friends or family, and they started to get worried, and they eventually went to the police to issue a missing persons warning. Later on the day that he was reported missing, Kevin's car was actually found abandoned in a parking lot, along with all of his clothes and his cell phone. Using his cell phone, police were able to actually access his Grindr account and see that the last person he had messaged on there was a man named Mark Lutunsky. Police were able to track down Mark Lutunsky, and they asked him if they could look around his house for a bit, and he actually happily agreed. However, when police went down to the basement, they made an absolutely horrific discovery. Hanging from the rafters by his ankles was the nude body of Kevin Bacon. His throat had been slashed, his body had been drained of blood, and most shocking of all, he had actually been castrated. Upon further questioning, Mark happily admitted that he had actually castrated Kevin and then brought up his testicles and ate them, and that he was planning to use a food dehydrator on the rest of Kevin's body so he could preserve it and eat it later. After Mark was arrested for the death of Kevin, police actually discovered that he had had several previous run-ins with the law in the months leading up to the death. 2 men on 2 previous occasions actually called 911 stating they had escaped from Mark's basement after he drugged them, tied them up, and was planning to torture them. In both cases, police just chalked it up to a gay dispute, and they didn't actually look further into it. Mark was quickly found guilty of Kevin's death, and now he's currently serving life in prison.
This man vanished from the top of a mountain in New York and was found 6 days later in California with no memory how he got there. This is easily one of the most bizarre disappearances and reappearances that I've ever heard of. If you've never heard of this story before, buckle up because it's wild. 49-year-old Canadian firefighter Danny was skiing at White Base Mountain in New York when he vanished. It was the last day of their ski trip. All of Danny's friends had gotten tired and had headed back down to the ski lodge to wait for Danny, who wanted to do one more trip down the mountain, but Danny never returned. Danny was missing on top of one of the highest mountains in the area. Everyone's thinking that there must have been some kind of terrible accident. All of Danny's belongings are still back at his resort: his car, his passport, his ID, his phone. A huge manhunt was being done on the mountain, but as the days went by, the chances of finding Danny alive were slim. Then, 6 days after he vanished, Danny was found alive on the complete other side of the country, over 2,500 miles away in California. Danny was still wearing the ski outfit that he disappeared in 6 days earlier, with a new haircut, a new cell phone, and no memory of the past 6 days. Eventually, Danny was able to recall that he believes that he was the passenger in a big rig truck at one of those points and thought that he must have suffered some kind of head injury. But he had an examination at a hospital that found that he had 0 injuries at all. Extensive investigations were done in both California and New York that brought forth no answers. 6 months after Danny disappeared, he was able to recall a couple more big details, but honestly it wasn't much. Now here are some of the most highly believed theories that you can find online. Could Danny have gotten a concussion on the mountain that resulted in some kind of memory loss? It sounds plausible, but a lot of doctors that have looked at this case have said that it's unlikely because memory loss after head trauma usually only lasts at most 48 hours, not 6 days. And apparently Danny didn't even have any injuries to begin with when he was found. Some also believe that maybe Danny was abducted by aliens who dropped him back off on the wrong side of the country. Some people also believe that maybe Danny wanted to disappear on purpose and start a new life, but then got cold feet. Honestly, I have no idea what I think happened. This story for real sounds like something out of fiction. To this day, we still have no idea what happened to Danny during those 6 days that he was missing, but let me know what you think happened in the comments.
As well, man, drop it down below. What do you guys think happened? He was at the top of the mountain 6 days later, unscathed, on the opposite side of the country, man. Like they said, memory loss. They say aliens abducted him. I mean, you never know. He could have fell through a portal or something. I don't know. I'm definitely going to have to check into that, man. Try to see the reports. See if he, like you said, he recalls some more vague details about it. We definitely got to check that one out. You guys, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker, seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, tell me down below, guys, if you guys liking this new style that I'm trying out, man. Like I said, I'm saving my thoughts until after the video plays. I'm trying to pause way less. If you guys can see over the past couple of videos, I've paused way less, man. And like I said, I'm just trying to bring you guys the best content I possibly can. I'm trying to grow this community, seekers. I believe we can do this, man. So I just need you guys' help by spreading the word, man. If you just subscribe to the channel, hit that post notification bell, hit that like button, man. You guys are doing me a huge favor. You guys gonna catch in the next one, man. We're doing daily uploads this month as well. Might even get double on some days. I don't know yet. I'm out. Peace, seekers. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing all right, man. If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos, man, on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG videos, Facebook, man. Anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Like I said, I want to thank you guys, the seekers who's tapping into the channel, subscribing, hitting that post notification bell, hitting that like button, man. I really appreciate your support. Like I said, you guys have been seeing, guys kind of want me to switch it up, man. If you guys want me to switch it up, send you guys videos like to my Instagram, Twitter, man, anywhere where I can try to download them, put them in the next video. I would really appreciate that. But that's what we do best. Seek the truth.
Unusual deaths in 2022. Just a few weeks ago, a 32-year-old man named Khalil Kimi was swimming at a pool party in Israel when all of a sudden a sinkhole opened up under the water, causing him to be dragged inside and sucked to his death. On January 5th, a personal trainer named Tom Mansfield died after ingesting an amount of pre-workout equivalent to 200 cups of coffee. The father of two reported that his heart started beating extremely fast and he was foaming at the mouth before he died just minutes later. The following day, on January 6th, a 16-year-old boy named Teddy Balkin was playing a JV hockey game when he fell to the ground and collided with another player. His neck was then slit by the boy's hockey skate and he died later in emergency surgery.
Hockey, man, dangerous sport, bro. Risking your life.
I had to get myself up and out of bed for this because I'd never heard of this case before. Welcome to Creep Time on TikTok with Celestine. These are the 13 unaccounted minutes before Patrice Andres went missing. On April 15th of 2004, Patrice, who's a local salon owner in Georgia, walks into her shop and finishes her last client at exactly 11:37 a.m. Another client then calls the shop at 11:50, to which there's no answer, which is very unlike Patrice. In that 13-minute window, something happens in that salon where Patrice goes missing. The next client comes in to find the shop empty, and police are called to the scene, which is eerily undisturbed. Aside from some missing money in the register, there's nothing that's out of place, there's no sign of a struggle, even her lunch is still sitting there warmed up. But two separate witnesses would come forward to report passing the salon within that time frame. Both witnesses come forward to report seeing a light blue sedan parked out front and two unidentified women standing next to it. One of the women was described as tall with dark hair and the other short with light hair. These eyewitness accounts mark one of the only insights as to what happened in those 13 minutes. After 20 months of searching, her remains are finally found at the bottom of a ravine, but the manner of death is unknown. Initially, her husband is suspected to be involved as maybe a jealous spouse, but a scrutinizing investigation would rule him out. She leaves behind her 15-year-old son at the time, who till this day continues to search for answers as to what really happened to his mom on April 15th. So what are your theories as to those 13 unknown minutes?
It's kind of scary, man, how like that small amount of unaccounted time led to somebody's minds. Make sure you're having to be aware of everything, man, even the minute details. Like I said, if it wasn't for those two people, eyewitnesses checking out that pulled up that blue sedan, they wouldn't have had nothing.
Creepy facts that you shouldn't read. Your mind can sense when someone is staring at you even when you're asleep, which explains why you randomly wake up during the night. Spirits are more active at night and mostly exist in air-conditioned rooms. They look and stare at you at night. They read your mind and try to speak and show your future dreams. Follow if you're scared.
Interesting, spooky facts. You guys believe that?
Videos that seem innocent, but actually have a terrifying backstory. This video shows a man playing Dance Dance Revolution while some teens unknowingly record him and make fun of him. 6 months after this video was taken, this man, Adam Lanzo, would shoot his own mother 4 times in the head while she's sleeping, then drive to Sandy Hook Elementary School where he'd murdered 23 people. This video shows magician Tommy Cooper having a heart attack while on live TV. The audience, as well as his assistant, thought it was part of the show, so they laughed along while he died on stage. This video shows a popular CSGO streamer showing off his new McLaren. However, he was banned a week later for hacking, and this caused him to have a mental breakdown. So he purposely crashed his car into a van, killing himself, a mother, and her child. This video shows a band performing minutes before the venue burnt down and killed everyone inside. Even creepier, the band's name was Burn.
Damn, that's a freaking scary coincidence. All those creepy facts, man. It's like these pictures and videos, they have dark backstories you never know until you find out. Can't judge a book by its cover, that's what they say.
A 20-year-old cold case has had a major breakthrough after an eerie twist led to police identifying a teenage girl's remains. Midtown Jane Doe was found mysteriously entombed in cement in a former New York hotspot during construction in 2003. Investigators believe she was fatally strangled, bound with electrical wire, and wrapped in a carpet before being cemented into the building's basement. Now, Midtown Jane Doe has been identified as Patricia Kathleen McGlone, a girl from Brooklyn who was last seen in the late 1960s. DNA from a woman killed in the 9/11 attacks, also named Patricia, helped authorities identify the girl, as the two were related.
This is the devastating case of Kylie Rodney. On August 6, 2022, 16-year-old Kylie went missing at Prosser Family Campground in Truckee, California. Kylie attended a school party with more than 100 kids, but it's alleged that older people also showed up, which made a lot of the teens uncomfortable. Kylie texted her mom right before midnight and told her that she would be home in 45 minutes, but the following morning, Kylie's mother got super worried when Kylie was still not home. One of Kylie's friends said that she was with her the entire evening until she decided to go home at 12:20 a.m. Police searched Prosser Lake for more than 15 hours, but were unable to find Kylie's vehicle. But on August 21st, a group of divers who go by the name Adventures with Purpose decided that they would help look for Kylie. It didn't take the group of divers much time to locate Kylie's car, only 14 feet underwater. The car was upside down and Kylie's body was inside. The investigation is still ongoing and the autopsy results have not been released yet. So what do you guys think happened to Kylie? Was this a tragic accident or was there foul play involved?
Definitely had to be foul play, something. All those people showing up to the party, she got uncomfortable.
Dark things that happen at Disney, part 23. I actually got a lot of messages asking me to cover this case. On December 3rd, Chris Christensen passed away after jumping from a parking structure outside of Disneyland. This is reportedly the area that he jumped from, and that's where he landed. Now, it's a very sad and tragic case. It breaks my heart. So according to the letter that Chris left, him and his wife Marlena got in a really bad fight. Said their marriage was perfect up until that fight. She accused him of being aggressive and physical with her and their kids. Although Chris claims that that's not what happened and those claims were false. As a result, he spent the night in jail and he pretty much lost his job of being a school principal. Chris said that he took his own life to escape his partner and these claims that she made up. It's a very touchy case. That's why I didn't really want to address it. But like I said, a lot of people told me to.
That one case, when anything resolves Disney's now in the
Most
news, they
unusual
always seem to
deaths
be able
in
to
human
hide
history. Yuroko Onaja was in the middle of having sex with his 6th wife when his other wives caught him and became jealous. They forced him to do it with each of them, and he stopped breathing before he could get to the 5th wife. A 32-year-old man from Florida, Edward Archibald, died from choking on arthropod body parts in a cockroach eating contest. When 25-year-old Salman Mirza met up with his ex-fiancée at a hotel in India, he realized that he didn't have protection. Salman then proceeded to seal up his pee-pee using a strong glue, causing him to die of organ failure. This past Halloween, a Brazilian man was fishing with his 2 friends when all of a sudden they were attacked by bees. The man attempted to escape by jumping into a nearby lake where he was attacked by piranhas and died. 42-year-old Tony Isles was in a McDonald's drive-thru when he dropped his credit card. He opened his door to retrieve it when his car rolled forward, pinning him between the door and the car, crushing him to death.
Crazy cases, man. You would never think in a million years that stuff like that would happen. Edit.
This is why you should never take walks alone at night. In 2007, a girl was on a late night walk when she looked at the end of the road and saw the silhouette of a man moving around very strangely. It was like he was doing the waltz, but he was moving towards her, so she was sketched out, crossed the road, and went the other way. After a couple minutes, she turned around to see what he was doing, and he was right across the street from her, now staring up into the sky with a huge grin on his face. Now totally creeped out, she turns around and walks about a half block before checking again, and to her horror, he's now crouched down right behind her. But luckily, he stands up, turns around, and kind of hobbles away, and then she notices something. The man had turned around and was now sprinting directly towards her. She runs to safety and now just hopes she never has to see that smiling man again.
The smiler, man. It's that factor cap. That's scary.
Okay, these are terrifying facts to keep you up at night. Our
go.
first one is locked-in syndrome. And I hear you thinking, what is that? Well, locked-in syndrome is essentially sleep paralysis, but for comas. You could be put into a coma and have complete awareness of what's going on around you, but you can't move any of your limbs and you can't speak. People have described it as a living hell and the most terrible thing anyone can go through. How many of you are cat owners? Well, I hate to do this to you, but your furry best friend is not there for you. If you manage to die before your cat does, your cat will wait till you're dead and then begin to eat your body. And for this last one, I have to give you a warning. Because if you don't like rats, it's going to ruin your day. Go onto Google Images and search up Rat King. Just look at it. And when you're done doing that, share this video with one of your friends to ruin their day.
I ain't doing that. Don't search up Rat King, y'all.
I haven't covered many cases that deal with the paranormal on this account, but this is a story that stuck out to me. Welcome to Creep Time on TikTok with Celestine. This story is from a woman named Whitney Reneby. The story takes place in a rural part of Oklahoma, sometime between 2019 or maybe early 2020. One night while her mother is just sitting in the living room just browsing through old photos on her phone, she comes across 3 pictures that startle her. On her camera roll were these 3 photos taken within minutes of each other around 3 in the morning just a few days prior. One is of her husband sleeping, one is of her daughter sleeping, and then one is of herself. She realized that no one else in the house had taken any of these photos, nor did her family have a history of sleepwalking. This is a family that has 5 dogs in the house, all of which tend to bark with strangers, but there was no sound that night. Till this day, she has no idea who took these pictures or how they were able to do so without disturbing the house or the dogs. The photos are a haunting mystery, leaving the family with one question. Who took these pictures?
Who took the pictures, y'all? They snuck in with no detection.
Let's talk about skinwalkers. They are said to be powerful witches and medicine men. They can even change their form to any animal they desire, including humans. But they mainly change into deer, wolves, and coyote. You know, dragon fruit ain't that good. The scary part is they say if you see one, they can steal your face and even your last scream for help. You might think this is like a folklore or tale. People actually believe these are real. The scary part is there's actual videos of people seeing oddly walking humans screaming help in the middle of nowhere.
Is that a skinwalker, y'all?
See, they say skinwalkers pretend to be humans in distress, and if they're calling out for help, they're just trying to lure you in. Ashley. That's when they take your life and use your voice and your look to catch their next gullible victim. A man's wife wasn't even home, but yet somebody was calling him to come downstairs in his wife's voice.
Is that an edit, y'all? Is that legit? Don't trust it.
If you want me to go out in the middle of the field, at least shapeshift into like Rihanna or Beyonce. I'm making a mess, but this look good. I'll be there in a minute. 30 seconds flat. Naked. Very naked. Maybe even Lizzo. Let's light this candle.
What the? Skinwalkers, man. Should we check that out? I've seen a couple of videos, man. I haven't deep dived into it yet. Edit. Gotta call it like I see it, man.
This is the Pitbull video, one of the hardest cartel execution videos to watch explained. The video that I'm about to explain is extremely graphic and I don't recommend searching for it.
I won't.
The video begins with a man lying on his back on the ground and 2 men are holding his legs open. He's being restrained. And in total there is 5 perpetrators and 1 victim. And also 2 pit bull dogs. Apparently, this is the victim's punishment for allegedly doing something with a kid or to a kid. The victim is naked, and at the start of the video, the dog has done most of the work. The dog already ripped off the man's privates, and it's just a bloody mess. The dog continues to rip pieces of flesh off of where his privates used to be, and the victim is being held down, and he is also gagged so he can't scream. But sometimes the gag came loose, and at this point you could hear the man scream in pain. The victim was even talking, but I couldn't translate it, but that means he was completely conscious during this. which I can't even imagine the pain. As a man, this might be one of the worst videos out there. Funky Town is bad, Ghost Rider is bad, but as a man, I can't imagine anything more painful than a Pitbull ripping off your junk while you're still alive. Not many people mention this video with the other disturbing ones, but it's definitely up there. There's not any information about the victim after the video. I don't know if he died, but it's safe to assume he did. He lost a lot of blood, and if a dog eats your privates, you will most likely get an infection and die from it. All in all, this video is very graphic, very real, and very disturbing. Please do yourself a favor and never go searching for this video, especially if you're a man.
I never search for those video seekers. Do y'all? Me personally, I don't.
Someone recently asked me what the strangest thing I've seen in a police file is, and I think I have an answer. It's this trash can. Let me explain. So this trash can was found in Joan Rish's house in 1961, immediately after she went missing. Her young daughter had gone to a neighbor's house and told the neighbor that mommy is missing and there's red paint all over the kitchen. And when the police got there, they saw that the red all over the kitchen was blood. But there were also a few really weird details like this trash can, so the police had no idea what had happened to Joan. So first and foremost is the fact that this trash can is just in the middle of the kitchen. Normally it was under the sink, but here it is, just in the middle of the kitchen for no reason. And then the content of the trash made no sense. So here is the phone receiver, which has been ripped from the wall. You can see in this photo here that the phone is still on the wall, but just the mouthpiece was ripped off. And then moved across the kitchen and neatly placed on the trash. And on the phone was a fingerprint they could never identify. People hypothesized that maybe someone was there, and when Joan went to call for help, they ripped the mouthpiece off. Then there was this beer. So Joan's husband was out of town when this happened, but when he came back, he said that no one in the house drank Miller High Lifes. He didn't drink it, Joan didn't drink it, the trash had been taken out since the last time people were over, but yet there's Miller High Life next to the trash. Joan disappeared that day and was never seen again, and these two little pieces right here are some of the only evidence that someone else may have been in the house. They don't know if she ran away on her own, if she was taken, or what. But the whole story is really wild, and I tell it all tonight on the episode. Also, merch goes live when the episode drops.
These are the world's most haunted dolls. Starting at number 4, Letta the doll, a 200-year-old wooden doll with human hair. She was discovered beneath a house in Australia. Carrie Walton, the caretaker of this doll, witnessed many strange things ever since he took her inside his home.
I don't know.
Marks on the floor, objects mysteriously moving, and strange noises at night. Number 3, Okiku. This doll was purchased by a young man in 1918 in Japan as a gift from his younger sister. Tragically, after a year, the little girl passed away from a severe case of the flu. Sometime later, the family noticed something off about the doll's hair. It was originally short, and it has grown past its shoulder. Until this day, the doll's hair is maintained on a regular basis because it never stopped growing. Number 2, Annabelle. Known for its infamous movie releases and stories with Ed and Lorraine Warren, we do know that this doll is possessed by something that is evil, and whoever held this doll suffered from many bad things. Therefore, the doll is now stored in the Warren Museum, safe and sealed. But Annabelle is not the most haunted doll.
What is it?
Because coming at number 1, Robert. Robert is not an ordinary doll. This thing is sinister. This doll is possessed by a demon, and it speaks to children. In Florida, in the early 1900s, this doll was gifted to a young boy named Robert Eugene, and his parents always used to hear Robert and his doll speak in the bedroom alone, and the family used to hear the voice of the doll respond. Eugene kept his doll till 1974 until he passed away at an old age. No one knew why this old man kept his doll for more than 70 years. After his death, Robert was given to the East Martello Museum. Visitors who have taken his picture without permission claim to have experienced terrible misfortune. If you visit Robert in the museum, you will see that this doll is surrounded by apology letters and also other letters, like permission to look at him. And no one dares to take a picture of Robert.
Robert the doll. I'm gonna have to look that up, man. There were people that would definitely write letters saying how they were sorry taking picture videos of him without his permission. Some dark energy going on there. Edit.
This guy is the real Humpty Dumpty, and his story is much darker than you think. Deep in the eerie town of Puddlebrook, Kentucky, resided Gilbert Eggman, a man plagued by misfortune. His tale took a sinister turn when he joined the construction crew. Perched atop a towering brick wall on his very first day, 3 co-workers, fueled by malevolence, sent the ladder crashing down. Gilbert's pleas for help fell on deaf ears. Desperate to rescue him, the trio resorted to a crane. But destiny had other plans. The crane, guided by an unseen force, struck Gilbert, sending him hurtling to a grim demise. The town whispered of Gilbert's curse. In the following months, darkness consumed Puddlebrook. One by one, the 3 construction workers met their untimely ends, each death shrouded in mystery. Gilbert's curse, it seemed, had unleashed its wrath upon them, becoming an urban legend in the small town.
You won't believe what this person found on the dark web. The dark web refers to 80% of the internet that is not accessible through normal internet browsers. Here's why you should never go searching on there. This one person was searching around when they stumbled upon a live bid. Now, he didn't actually realize what they were bidding for, but he was watching it. When the bidding ended, it was revealed that it was for a woman tied to a chair. The winning bidder decided what happened to this girl. It ended up being a torture and murder live stream. To this day, it was never revealed who was behind this or who this poor girl was. That's really sad and messed up. But follow for more sad and messed up content, I guess. Also follow me on YouTube, link in bio.
Dark web, man. We've heard stories about that, but
this man has been sentenced to 100 years in prison after doing the unthinkable to his daughter. Tony Valles is a 66-year-old from Helena. On the 10th of July 2022, he was at home with his partner Heather. Tony's 8-year-old daughter Ariana and his 18-year-old son were also at the house at the time. Suddenly, 2 women entered the property who he believed were evicting him. He flew into a violent rage and grabbed a weapon from his bedroom. At this point, he began shooting. He shot Heather and she fell to the floor, and then he shot at his son. His 8-year-old daughter tried to escape and run from the terror, but she was hit with gunfire. She was on the stairs when she was hit by a bullet and she fell back. She tragically died after being rushed to hospital. After his daughter's death, Tony stated, "I'm sorry for all this. I can't undo what I've done. The pain and the misery will last a lifetime, and I'm sorry for all that." Tony was sentenced to serve 100 years in prison.
This is Mr. Swirl, one of the worst pedophiles in world history. And let me tell you, this story is really disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised. So this is Mr. Swirlface himself, Christopher Paul Neal. He was born in Canada in 1975. So Christopher had a pretty unremarkable childhood, but it should be stated here that he wanted to become a Catholic priest. But after the seminary denied him because he wasn't properly qualified, he decided to become a teacher instead. So Christopher eventually moved out of Canada. He moved to South Korea. That's where he was employed as a teacher. And suddenly, all of these images of CP started circulating around the internet. Christopher appeared in over 200 images of CP that he produced himself. And in every photo that he produced, he always put this swirly effect over his face, thinking that it would obscure his identity. Well, eventually German computer experts were able to unswirl the image. They produced this image to the left, and a number of people who knew Christopher contacted Interpol and told them, this is that guy. So once he was identified, Christopher fled to Thailand. That's where he decided he would make his great getaway. And while he was living in Thailand, he employed the services of a young boy who would go out to local internet cafes and bring Christopher other young boys that he would abuse and take photos of. But this didn't last long and obviously didn't work out for Christopher. In the year 2007, towards the end of the year, he was finally arrested by the Thai police. There's nothing that brings me more joy than seeing all these officers around this guy. And one thing that should be noted about Christopher is his unrepentant nature when he's photographed. You'll see what I mean. Pictures like these were taken by the press when he was finally arrested and brought to justice. So in Thailand, Christopher was sentenced to 39 months in prison and he was handed a $1,700 plus fine. But he later admitted to the crime, he was eventually released, and then he returned to Canada. Upon his return to Canada, he was immediately arrested at the Vancouver International Airport. Now, while Christopher was in Canada, CP was found on his phone and laptop. He was sentenced to a number of years in prison. But in March of 2017, Christopher was released from prison, and he now lives in Vancouver somewhere, according to the internet. That's right, Mr. Swirlyface is currently out on the streets. I didn't know this. I think this is an absolute injustice to all the victims of this guy. This is absolutely a horrific story, and I cannot believe he's not serving more time for appearing in over 200 images of CP. It's crazy. But yeah, let me know below. Do you think this guy should still be in prison? I'm also going to be starting a true crime series talking about murders, conspiracies, all of the above on my YouTube channel, The Paranormal Files, so go subscribe if you don't already. But yeah, this story is unbelievable and sickening.
Insane. Just roaming the streets after all what he did.
I posted a video listing 8 horrifying facts about jinns. Number 2 from that list caught many viewers' attention. Let's have a look at that clip. Number 2, mythical creatures that we see in movies, such as dragons, mermaids, goblins, and trolls, are inspired by supernatural beings.
Really?
The jinns of the sky, the jinns of the sea, the jinns of the mountains, and the jinns of the caves. For hundreds of years, mythical creatures were always inspired by supernatural beings. Let's use mermaids as an example. In urban legends, mermaids are known to be sea creatures that lure sailors to their death by their enchanting voice. They are not as innocent and friendly as how movies make them seem. This is the only real video available online that could maybe prove a being of what seems to be a mermaid.
We got another one over here.
Alright.
What are those?
Whoa. Swimming side by side, something was weird. What the hell? This is all on 4K and this doesn't make national news or something?
One of those trails, but with something swimming fast underneath that water. Something swimming real fast underneath that water. I hear him. Where's he at? What the fuck is that noise, bro? What is that noise? Where are you?
Let's not forget the importance of oceans in the world of jinns. The most protected area in their whole world is on water. The throne of Iblis is on water. But the main question is, are these shape-shifting jinns half humanoids, half fish? Or do mermaids actually exist? Only God knows the answer.
Hit the nail on the head, man. What do you guys think? Like I said, half humanoid, mermaids, jinns. What do you guys think, man? But what he's saying was true, if you think about it, man. It's like every story, it takes inspiration from something, man. So these dragon mermaids or something, they had to originate from somewhere. We just truly don't know the origins behind it. That's why you gotta keep our mind open. YouTube, that's it, man, for this video for you guys today, man. If you guys enjoyed this video, could you guys do me a huge favor? Leave a thumbs up on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that post notification bell, man. Like I said, also, man, comment down below, guys, what you guys want to see next, man. Like I said, hope you guys been enjoying this new style and bring it to the channel. Talking less, pausing even way less, and just letting these videos play through. That's what you guys want. That's what I'm gonna do, man. And like you guys said, if you guys want me to switch up the videos, man, like I said, DM me the videos on Instagram, Twitter. That's why I said to follow me on there, so we can grow together, man. And I can get these videos out for you guys, man. What you guys want to see. You guys can catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace, seekers. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, what we do is we break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank you guys for the support, subscribing to the channel, hitting that post notification bell, man, and hitting that like button, man. That helps us grow, our community together. So really appreciate the support. Let's do what we do best. Seek the truth.
This woman filmed her own murder after her husband found out she was having an affair. On December 2021, a fight broke out between 60-year-old Carrie Birmingham and his 48-year-old wife Patricia after he found out that she had been having an affair. During the argument, Carrie pulled out his shotgun, pointed at Patricia, and threatened to take her life. Patricia began recording their fight, and the last thing her husband said to her before he pulled the trigger was that she was going to meet Jesus. Carrie pled guilty, and even though they had video evidence of what he did, he was only sentenced to 10 years in prison with the possibility of parole in 5 years. And the reason for this is because the laws in Texas allows for a reduction in punishment if the crime was committed in sudden passion, which in this case, Carrie found out about his wife's affair and quickly reacted in this way.
Should they change that law, man?
He took her life because of it. On September 20th of 2015, Fidel Lopez and his girlfriend Maria Nemeth were inside of his apartment drinking. Maria ended up getting very intoxicated and they both ended up in a closet.
Okay.
They began to have intercourse and Maria had said the name of her ex-husband twice. Once Fidel had heard what Maria said, he became enraged. At that point, Fidel left Maria in the closet while he went through the apartment and began to break things. He had shattered a glass door and punched holes into the wall. Fidel then went back into the closet and Maria was lying unconscious. Fidel then decided to insert a beer bottle, a hair straightener, and both of his fists inside of Maria. Maria started to bleed and Fidel stated this is when he became a monster. Fidel then admitted to pulling out Maria's intestines. Maria had never gained consciousness during this time. He then carried Maria to the bathroom to put water on her face, but she still did not wake up. Fidel then washed the blood off of his hands and went outside to smoke a cigarette. He started to panic and then went to the bathroom to check on Maria. She was no longer breathing, so that's when he decided to call 911. Maria was taken to the hospital and she was pronounced dead. Fidel was sentenced to life in prison and ended up taking a plea deal to avoid the death penalty.
This is proof we aren't alone. Okay, so this alien-looking creature was recently captured on video, and
Shapeshifter? We gotta see this. What the hell's that? Oh man. Is this an edit? Or is this legit?
I have no idea what this is, but it's absolutely terrifying. And this is also 4,000 feet in the ocean.
Ooh.
We need to talk.
4,000 feet? You gotta see, because you know we haven't even explored like half of the ocean, so that could be a possibility, man. Is that legit? Or is that cap? You guys know what to do.
About the smiling dog. The smiling dog is a demonic creature that looks like a dog but has human teeth. Photos of this creature were sent to people all over the world. And once a photo was seen, the smile dog would enter the viewer's dream. And in the dream, you'll feel a need to ask the creature one question. What do you want? Then the smile dog will always reply with spread the word. After that, you'll have 3 days to grant the smile dog's wishes. And if you don't send any videos or photos of the smile dog to someone else, the photo you receive will start to deform, showing you a a much more disturbing version of the smile dog that some people think is its true form. Some people have even said the smile dog's nightmares are so bad that its victims avoid sleeping altogether, weakening their mind and making them even more vulnerable till the smile dog comes out of their dreams and into their reality to further torment them. So send this video to someone else to spread the word of the smile dog.
Y'all doing that, Seekers, man? Spreading that smile dog picture? I ain't receiving, so I don't know if that's Patrick Cat. That it.
Anytime I sort of revisit the story of Carly Gousset, I'm reminded that that is one of the most chilling stories that I've ever heard come out of California. This is Carly. She was pretty young at the time. She was only a junior in high school, and all of this took place up in Mono County. This is in California. Very, very rural. When I'm saying rural, I'm serious. Like, there's nothing out there. Carly didn't really have a lot of issues. I mean, most people reported that she was a pretty good kid, but in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, her friends noticed that she seemed paranoid. She felt like somebody was tracking her on her phone, but she never said who. Fast forward, she ends up going to a party. She does something at that party that I can't say, and then she has a complete meltdown, a total episode. She allegedly even bit her own boyfriend at the time and then ran off into the street, into the darkness, before getting picked up by her stepmother. From what I read, it sounded like the parents pretty much stayed up with her all night because they were waiting for her to come down from whatever it was that she took. But she never did, and they never called 911. Come the morning, she was gone. She was not in the house. If these are stories that interest you, we've got a whole show on it. If you want to go check that out for a full episode. Only a handful of witnesses claim to actually see her. They saw her walking along the road towards the highway, and this is that highway. Like, it is, there's nothing out there, which means somebody must have put her in their car.
A man has been arrested on suspicion of manslaughter in connection with the death of ice hockey player Adam Johnson. The 29-year-old Nottingham Panthers player's throat was cut by an opponent's skate blade when they collided during a match. Johnson received immediate medical attention with CPR performed on the ice and was taken to hospital but could not be saved. Detectives arrested the suspect on Tuesday, who remains in custody.
Dirty animal facts.
I think I remember I seen that video trend on Twitter. It's just like, I don't know, it was just like trending everywhere. People yesterday have saying that the guy did it on purpose. And that was just a disturbing video, man. So, looks like you got justice.
You wish you never knew. Part 4. When a scorpion loses its tail, it also loses its anus. So if you pick it up by its tail, or it decides to sting something and can't let go, also then losing its anus. Not sure how it goes to the bathroom then, but that's not my problem. Madagascar hissing cockroaches are so loud they can actually be mistaken for an oncoming train. So next time you're walking somewhere and you think that you hear a train, it may just be a few cockroaches having a party. Don't forget to like and follow if you enjoyed the series and want to see it.
Your wish is my command. Here are 3 animals that look like they're the spawn of Satan, but actually harmless. First up, we've got the basking shark. Now, don't get me wrong, if I saw this daddy behind me while I was swimming, I'd shit the equivalent to an average human in 1 year in 1 second. But believe it or not, they're actually chill. They're one of the boys. Now, yes, their mouth is so wide that they could theoretically fit your entire extended family in there. They're a passive predator, mainly feeding on zooplankton. And you won't end up in here because they're really not interested in humans. Bit fucking rude, but however, that isn't me saying you should go up to one and give it a big fucking hug. Maybe keep your social distance for this one. Next up, we've got what the fuck are you? This is an eye-eye. Now, yes, if you were camping in the middle of the night and went out and saw this creature, I'd say you'd probably have a negative reaction. But this budget-ass gremlin and long middle finger is harmless. It doesn't go for humans, it goes for insects and grubs from tree trunks. Are you a fucking tree trunk? The worst it'll do is give you the biggest fuck-off middle finger of your life. Finally, we got the tailless whip scorpion. Oh yeah, quickly share the video or tag one friend. Love ya! Now, you may recognize it from Harry Potter, but this little shit hurts it. They're harmless and not even venomous. Even provoked, they're chill. Elon!
Crazy animal facts, alright. Especially about that scorpion. I ain't messing with any of that, bro. Can't believe if you pick it up with its tail, that means you're picking it up by its anus, man. The more you know. Tap in with us, man. You're gonna learn some facts.
TikTok videos help find his son's killer. This is 19-year-old Luis Carlos Laguna Jr., and he was born on September 8th of 2004. He was from Arlington, Texas, and he had a passion for music, dancing, and his Chevy Silverado. November 18th of 2023, Luis had attended a ranch party in Fort Worth, Texas with his friends. As they were leaving, they got into an argument with another group of individuals. It was strictly verbal, just argument back and forth. The two groups ended up separating, and Luis had went on his way with his friends. They all hopped into Luis's truck, and as the truck was leaving, someone shot behind Luis's truck and struck Luis. Luis was then transported to a local hospital in critical condition, but unfortunately passed away. The medical examiner's office confirmed that his cause of death was a gunshot wound to his head. Brooklyn Police Department had stated that they were still looking for a suspect, and if anyone had any kind of information to please come forward. Weeks started passing by, weeks turned into months, and still they had nothing. Luis's father, Carlos Laguna Sr., had started to post videos on his TikTok. He would post the videos about memories with his son, then he started to talk about his son's case. Carlos did this in hopes that it would reach the right person, and that person would come forward with any information about his son's killer. About 5 months after Luis's death, a detective called Carlos to let him know that they had found Luis's killer. That person is 20-year-old Martin Ramirez Lopez, and he is currently sitting in jail charged with the murder of Luis. Detectives mentioned to Carlos that his TikTok videos did help and that someone had came forward. One thing about Carlos, he was not going to give up. Rest in peace to Luis, and he'd never be forgotten.
DJ said
Power of
his
TikTok.
main motive was
Do
that
some
David
good too.
smoked too much of their weed. So on the night of the 13th, David, DJ, Bradley, and Austin were all over at his house. They were hanging out in that camper trailer, they were smoking, hanging out, and DJ gave Eric some kind of signal. And then Eric got up and he left the room. He didn't stay out of the room for more than a few minutes. So I don't know if he was curious about how the murder was going or what, but he came back to be with the others eventually. Except at this point when he came back in, David wasn't in the room. DJ, Austin, and Bradley had locked him in a bathroom. Now David didn't seem too worried at this point. He actually thought his friends were just kind of messing around with him, maybe playing a prank, you get it. But then they let him out of the bathroom. They turned off the lights and they started beating him. And that's when David got really scared. He apparently begged them to stop, but nobody would. They even used to start pistol whipping him. So once they found a pretty remote area, they pulled David out of the car, they walked him into the woods, laid him on the ground, and then DJ shot him in the head. At least, that's how things happened the first time that Eric told his story. But the police made him come in for 2 other interrogations, and each time Eric gave them a confession, it would change. One of the biggest differences was that a couple of times Eric said that the killer was not DJ. It was someone who was listed in the police report as AB. Those are Austin Barrett's initials. By now, the detectives were convinced that Eric was the ringleader in all of this. Even if they didn't know who actually fired the fatal shot, they still had no idea what the motive was for David's murder. But they were confident that Eric was behind all of it.
The
and
mastermind.
that Austin, DJ, and Bradley helped him pull off this crime, and then helped dump the body.
Riley Strain's mom finally gave an interview to News Nation, and she talked about the final text that was sent from Riley to her about his drink. People have not talked about this case in a couple of weeks, and this is a pretty big break considering we still don't have footage from inside the bar. If you need a refresher on the case, Riley Strain, he was a fraternity brother who was down on a trip with his frat. He was down in Nashville, and he was kicked out of a bar. See him on camera when he hits the street level. He is hammered. He's completely gone, he's wandering aimlessly, he's alone. Eventually, he would vanish that night, and then following a 2-week search, his body was found without his pants, washed up in the Cumberland River. And a lot of dust that was kicked up on this case because a lot of people wanted to know about that drink, and now we have confirmation from his mother. And again, it's a lot to pack into one video. If you want some backstory on this, I've got an episode on it. Riley had apparently texted his mom that his drink at the bar, something was wrong with it. Adds even more suspicion to the GHB theory.
Marcus married his 15-year-old.
See, cause that's why, man, when you out and you stepping away, man, if you don't cover your drink, it's best to just order a new one because you don't know the type of time that people are on nowadays. They could try to serve some of your drink, try to take advantage. It's not even worth it, man. When you out, get a new drink or don't leave it at all, man. Or better yet, don't even drink. I always want to be aware of my surroundings.
Stepdaughter. My heart goes out to her. She was way too young to be dealing with anything like this. And even though their finances don't sound like they were especially stable, they kept having children. I mean, think pregnancy after pregnancy. Because by the time she was 26 years old, Elizabeth had given birth, and this is not an exaggeration, 11 times. Now, given that the first pregnancy was when she was 15, that works out to a baby every single year. I can't even imagine. It's literally like you're pregnant for 10 years straight. Yep. That would be horrific. I didn't mind being pregnant, but that would be horrific. I mean, it honestly would be hard on anyone, but she was also so young that it would make it that much more difficult. Marcus basically stole her childhood away from her in so many different ways.
Crazy. She had no chance to even live her life. 11 years? She's pregnant every 1 year, bro. It's a sick story, man.
On Monday, April 15th, 21-year-old Thomas Elliott was inside a Target pretending to shop when he first began following a woman around the store. This woman said that she was shopping for clothes for her grandbaby when she noticed Elliott was standing way too close to her. And then she saw that he was holding his phone in a weird angle, pointing straight at her. She said her first thought was that this man may have been trying to Bluetooth her information from her phone onto his phone. She gave him this weird look like, "What the hell are you doing?" So he backed off and apologized and said that he was only looking at clothes that was hung beside her. So this woman walked away and continued to shop, but she still felt like something was off. She then noticed he was getting really close to another woman in the store, the same way he was doing to her. She thought this was too much of a coincidence, so she followed him around at a distance and wanted to see what he was up to. At this point, she felt like this guy was being really suspicious, so she put her phone in the cup holder of her shopping cart and began recording. And that's when she caught Elliott bent down with his phone and put his camera underneath this woman's dress.
Behind me is one of the most famous true crime cases ever. And to this day, it still remains unsolved. This one is called Who Killed John Benet? And I am partnering with Lifetime to bring you guys the best of the best for true crime film. Jean Benet was absolutely gorgeous, and she was in many beauty pageants. She had a loving mother and father, and also a brother. Unfortunately, Jean Benet was mysteriously murdered. There were several accusations against the parents, but no one really knows the real truth. Jean Benet was absolutely precious and so kind with her personality. She was loved by so many. This has been one of the most talked about true crime cases over the years. And to be honest, it's one of the most intense ones. I feel this Lifetime movie did a great job portraying this case, and I think it's one that everybody should watch. You guys can watch this at mylifetime.com/watchripped.
This picture famously surfaced from 1941 because something looks very off about it. This guy, a lot of people cite this picture as proof of time travel because not only does he seemingly look very modern and out of place, but he also appears to be holding a camera that's very small, too small for any commercial grade camera of 1941. But let me explain why this is debunked. The modern t-shirt he's wearing, it's a logo for the Montreal Maroons, which was a hockey team from the 40s. The glasses were also available. They had protective side shields in the 40s too. But what about that camera? It's small enough to be a digital camera, but they did not have commercial grade cameras that were this small in the 40s. Incorrect. Kodak confirmed of a rare model of a small portable camera that was limited, but it was available by 1941, which makes this photo completely plausible.
They debunked that quick. Could there still be more truth to that, or could they debunk it because they don't want nobody else looking into the truth? Dig deeper into that story. What do you guys think?
Who would think selling unlimited 10-cent beers to sports fans is a bad idea? Not the Cleveland Indians when they played against the Texas Rangers on June 4th.
10 cents? It's a deal of a lifetime.
60,000 cups of beer being sold to the 25,000 people in attendance. That was incredibly problematic because there were only 50 security guards.
Yeah,
Fans were growing increasingly intoxicated, throwing bottles and firecrackers on the field.
Whoa.
There were flashers and streakers. And this all culminated in the 9th inning when a fan tried to steal a player's cap and the Rangers came to their teammates' defense. The fans rushed the field with knives, chains, and stolen stadium seats. Players defended themselves with bats as they retreated into their dugouts, and the umpire declared the Rangers the winner by forfeit. Though they would put a 2-cup per person limit, the next 10-cent beer night was a month later.
They kept doing it. They didn't even learn from their mistakes. It's crazy. They're doing that nowadays. You know that ain't happening.
Look at Miranda seeming uncomfortable while Dan is touching her.
What can't you say? I mean, honest to God, I could go on and
All
on
this stuff coming out about
all
him.
the wonderful qualities about Miranda, but I know time permits.
Like,
and
why
I
is
will
he
consolidate
hugging her
just
like
one
that?
thing. In all the years I've known Miranda, I guess 9 years now, she hasn't changed. Miranda hasn't changed one bit. All those awesome
Like, the need to touch her?
9 years old, all the goodness, all those smiles.
Let me know if I'm overreacting. And make sure you hit that follow button because I have a whole deep dive coming.
Oh, he been getting
Breaking news in
exposed.
the case of what some are calling the Milwaukee serial killer. As you may remember, earlier this month, a critical missing persons warning was issued for Sade Robinson. She was last seen on Monday, April 1st. The following morning, authorities were notified about a car fire near her home. After further investigation, authorities were able to determine that the vehicle fire was that of Robinson's. Later that day, authorities say a community member located a leg in a park. This park was less than 10 miles away from Robinson's home. Furthermore, authorities said that Robinson went on a date on April 1st, the same day that she went missing. Authorities say that the two met at a restaurant where the suspect worked. The bartender who used to work there with the suspect said that they were seen having, quote, casual conversations. This was before leaving together. The two then reportedly went to another bar before they went back to the suspect's home. On Friday, 33-year-old Maxwell Anderson was charged in connection with the crime. The following day, the sheriff's department located another body part near the scene of the car fire. During the weekend that followed, additional remains were also located near a site where the remains had been discovered on April 5th. Authorities said cell phone data ultimately led them to the arrest. After taking the suspect into custody, they said that there was BLOOD located inside of his home. However, they have now released information stating that that BLOOD is not the victim's. A lieutenant who is a former Milwaukee investigator and who also worked on the Jeffrey Dahmer case said that this is not surprising to him. He said, quote, they haven't said whose BLOOD it is, but it could be his. He finished by saying, quote, I don't think this leads to the suspicion that there are other victims out there. At this time, he has pled not guilty and is being held on a $5 million bond. To stay up to date on this case, make sure you click the playlist below. I'll keep you guys updated. What do you think? Drop in the comments.
Here's 5 celebrities who didn't know killed somebody and what exactly went down. The last 2 are particularly weird and creepy. Tennis superstar Venus Williams got into a car accident in June 2017, which left 1 man dead. Williams was driving in Palm Beach, Florida, when she rushed into an intersection despite not having the right of way, and she was T-boned by the car. The car's driver survived, but her husband, 78-year-old man, was sent to the ICU, where he died 2 weeks later. Alec Baldwin discharged a prop gun that led to the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of his movie Rust in New Mexico on October 21st, 2021.
Saw that.
Authorities with the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office said that they were investigating the incident and trying to determine what type of projectile was discharged exactly. No charges have been made since the incident, and Baldwin, who is both a star and producer for the film, cooperated with authorities. Baldwin even released a statement the day after the incident to let the public know how devastated he was, as well as the fact that he was fully cooperating with the police investigation and that he was in touch with the late cinematographer's family and husband. In 1993, Snoop Dogg and his bodyguard were charged with the murder of a rival gang member. Snoop was defended by attorney Johnny Cochran and was acquitted after years and years of court battles. In 1978, Sex Pistols bassist Sid Vicious fatally stabbed his girlfriend Nancy Spungen. When he was first questioned, he claimed to have found her dead on the bathroom floor of their hotel room, but he later admitted that he had stabbed her but didn't actually intend to kill her. Although he was charged with her murder, Vicious never actually stood trial as he died of a drug overdose while out on bail. In 2012, Smallville and Sons of Anarchy actor Johnny Lewis broke into the home of an 81-year-old woman called Catherine David, ransacked her home, and then killed her and her cat. He was never questioned as he actually fell or jumped from a roof and died straight after. It was later revealed that he had been born into a Scientologist family and worked for the church's drug rehab group, Narconon. Despite a history of drug abuse, though, the autopsy report showed that he actually had no drugs or alcohol in his system at the time of his death.
It's like there's some dark secrets, man, behind the Hollywood wall, man, that I learned every single day watching these videos, you guys. That first story you saw, I never even knew something like that even happened, man, to the Williams sisters. Damn. Hollywood is, it's like so dark, man, behind the scenes. You gotta seek the truth, man.
Have you ever heard the crazy story on how the show To Catch a Predator with Chris Hansen got canceled? If you've never seen that show before, it was so ahead of its time. So basically, Chris Hansen and his team would go online and pretend to be children or teenagers and chat with online predators and then invite the creeps over, saying like, my parents aren't home. Then the creeps would go over to what they thought was a child's home, but be greeted with Chris Hansen and get arrested. Typically the men that they would catch on the show would be lowlifes with no real influence in society at all, until Texas District Attorney Bill Conrad started chatting with one of the show's online decoys, sending inappropriate photos to what he thought was an underage boy. On every single episode of the show, they had to convince these online creeps to actually meet up in person. But Bill didn't want to meet in person. This is complete speculation, but I'm assuming that the network knew that catching a district attorney on their show would be really good for ratings. And since Bill did not want to meet, they took camera crew, police officers, SWAT teams, and raided Bill's home. This is unlike anything the show had done before. And with cameras rolling, before they were even able to speak with him, Bill Conrad unalived himself. People that were at the scene apparently immediately started talking about how this was going to make really good TV. And Dateline did go on to air an episode that featured Bill. But there was some controversy, of course. The judge that signed the search and arrest warrant apparently said that they were never made aware that a reality TV show was involved in this arrest at all, and said if they had known, they would never have signed it. Experts have also said that the raid was unnecessary drama for the cameras and put everyone involved in unnecessary danger, and that the investigation was just rushed in general because this was reality TV and they wanted a quick turnaround for the episode. Bill's sister did go on to file a wrongful death lawsuit against NBC, which was settled for an undisclosed amount. And within months of this all happening, the very popular TV show was canceled. There's so much controversy about how this all went down, but what do you think? And if you were a fan of this show, did you ever hear about this before?
Canceled it, man, because they caught somebody person involved. And they tried, and it wrongly, man. They tried to catch it, but when that money got involved, man, they tried to do it for ratings. It seems like they kind of lost focus on what it really was supposed to be about, man. Like she said, that was ahead of its time. I imagine how would a show like that go like today, in today's society? It's sad, but they probably have an episode probably like every day. Crazy. Seekers, that's it, man, for this video for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, man. Like I said, if you guys been checking out my style, kind of been, you know, cutting back on the chatting, man, just letting the videos play out and saying my thoughts until afterwards, cutting down on the pausing as well, man. I'm just trying to make the viewing experience just the best for you guys. You deserve the best, and I want to continue to get better and better with each video going forward. Guys, stick with me, man. Hit that like button, subscribe button, hit that post notification bell. Also follow my socials down below, man. So let's go to Seekers. That's how we can connect and stay together, man. Guys can catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.